So I want to talk about overthinking and where I see that it comes from within me and what I do now when I realize that I overthink. Because I haven't just stopped overthinking. It's just something that I've become more aware of that I'm doing. And now I know how to actually use it to my benefit and look at the overthinking as like a signal that there is something going on below the surface that wants me to see it, wants me to learn from it. And so now I know how to do that. I'm not perfect at it, but I can promise you, my experience is that simply understanding that overthinking isn't actually a bad thing helps me to overthink less. So let's explain where I see that this comes from. At the core, where I see it comes from for me, is a place of shame. Like, I'm not good enough as I am, so I need to think and I need to reflect on all the things in the past that I did so that I can do them differently next time, or I can see if there's anything that I did wrong that I need to correct, or I need to overthink and think about the future so that I predict and I manage anything that could go wrong, and then that way people will still like me because now I've thought through all those potential different things and now I can actually make sure to do it right. Right? So I'm not good enough as I am. If I don't prepare, if I just allow myself to be me and say whatever, I'm not going to be liked. And this isn't a conscious thought that often goes through my head, but this is what this is often pointing at for me. And there's a few layers between. Right? So the first layer might be stress or anxiety. That's pretty easy to connect to overthinking. And the place where the stress and anxiety is coming from, for me, it's managing perception of how this person's going to perceive me, or making sure that someone's going to like me based on what I'm doing. So that's what I'm stressing about. It's like my own self-worth, right? Because control, you can take, for example, like a mom who's always trying to plan everything and always trying to make sure everything's good. The reason she's doing that is not because she cares so much, it's because she's so scared that if she messes up, then that'll mean that she's a bad mom. So it's more on the identity level, which is always below the level of the thoughts or the feelings. And so you can see that this is a loop, right? The shame and pride are like two sides of the same coin. And so the shame leads to me trying to be better, trying to prove myself, constantly going. That doesn't ever reach a conclusion. Like, it can never be good enough to actually, I can never actually prove that I'm good enough. It's impossible. And anyone who's experienced this overthinking will know that that's true. And so that leads to, let's say, pride, or trying to pretend like this isn't here. That's what I have to do in order to try to move forward. I have to push this down. I have to try to avoid that so that I can act like someone that I want to be, even though that's not who I believe deep down that I am. And so that leads to the stress and anxiety, and then this is a repeating cycle of trying to control and manage and leading to more stress and anxiety and controlling and managing. And this can be in many areas. This can be in work. This can be in the gym. And this will often lead to burnout, which then leads to more stress and anxiety. And so you can see how this is a self-compounding cycle. And then I'll just touch on this right here. The shame also is basically self-hatred, we can call it that, and you'll experience that there's different like forms of this, is how I experience it anyway. Sometimes I just feel really bad. Sometimes I'm actively really angry about myself. Sometimes I'm super actively stressed. And all these are different layers of my experience that are coming up at different points that I then, which I'll explain what I do about them in a moment, but I then look at those layers, not at the level of overthinking. So also something that happens for me is when I'm stressed, I'm more likely to judge other people, or when I feel unworthy, I'm more likely to project that onto other people. And so for me, this is an underlying principle of reality. This is true for everyone, that our outside world is only a reflection of what's inside of us. And so if I hate something that someone's doing, it's because I would hate that in myself. And so that is then an opportunity for me to look at it, which I'll talk about in a moment. Now, I also have a bit of an anxious attachment, you could say, and I think these are all tied together. I don't know, I'm not a psychology expert, I just want to share my experience. But for me, these are all tied together. Anxious attachment, let's say, for example, yesterday I was texting a girl and she didn't reply for 13 hours. That leads to assuming the worst. Oh, she didn't like last time I saw her, or this and that, and da. And what often happens for me is that this actually leads to more confusion. Overthinking does not actually lead to any positive conclusions. Even if I think that I arrive at something in my head, it is not based on any fact. It is based purely on the emotions that are underlying the overthinking. And so for me, that's a really important recognition to make, which is that The overthinking is here, but it's coming from a place of emotions. And so what we're going to talk about in a moment is that is where it's actually important to go. The overthinking is a signal to look at the emotions underneath. But before we do that, I just want to finish this right here. So assuming the worst, people don't like me, that's shame, basically. It's like I am bad, I am inherently unworthy, I don't deserve to be loved. None of these are true, but my mind will tell me that story through emotions, if that makes sense. It doesn't always say that through words, although some people do. But for me, it mostly comes through feelings, is how I experience this. It's often not, like I brainwashed myself in like positive affirmations, and so I've kind of like eradicated those words, but it doesn't actually push away the underlying feeling. So that's important. Self-sacrificing, I talked about this, but basically the more that we try to do better, the more that I'm trying to prove myself, the more that I'm saying that I'm bad as I am. And so it's this, again, self-perpetuating loop of just, oh, no matter how hard I try, I'm never good enough. Well, yeah, because we're trying. So there's that. Another thing is that really realizing that the overthinking, is coming from a place of avoiding the underlying emotions. So when we choose to continue to overthink and not break ourselves out of this cycle, it's because we're scared of what's underneath. We think it's bad if we're sad, or if we allow the stress, or if we feel like we hate ourselves because we're not supposed to. Oh no, I know that I'm perfect as I am. Well, I still hate myself. How does this make sense? It doesn't, right? And so I experience a lot of chronic doism. And so to get out of this, to get away from these emotions over here, I will often do anything. My mind will just make me tired. I will just become tired. I will go to the gym. I will eat food. I will work. I will go for a walk, listen to music, do basically anything. Anything that my mind can convince me that is good to do. And it'll come up in these suggestions that'll feel like I thought of them, but I didn't. They're just there. It doesn't quite make sense why I would want to do that thing, but all of a sudden it seems really appealing. Yeah, that's because I'm trying to avoid something. So, okay, now I want to talk about how I go through this process here to stop the overthinking. And for me, the most helpful thing that I've learned is overthinking is a signal for an underlying emotion. And underlying that emotion is a belief or multiple beliefs about myself, for example, that I'm not worthy, that I'm not good enough, that I have to do XYZ to get a girlfriend or something like this. And so for me, what's really helpful is to go to the extreme, to allow myself to go to the extreme. So if I'm overthinking about this, let's take the girl yesterday, for example. I'm overthinking and blah, blah, blah. Well, did she say this? Did I say this? Did I text this wrong? What could I have said differently? Blah, blah, right? And I realize, oh, okay, I'm in my head. I'm stuck. I'm not enjoying myself. I know that this isn't what I want. I don't know exactly how to get there, but let me just sit with this. And so I say, okay, like clearly I'm stressed, right? Clearly I want this person to like me. I don't really know how, or I think that I need to do all these things for them to like me. Okay, I'm remembering now that like, ooh, people like me for who I am, not for the things that I do. Okay, that's good. But what is the extreme of this emotion? Stress. And when I allow myself to go to the extreme, I imagine that I'm like looking in at my head, or that I allow my mind just to go crazy. And then I'm like a little bit, I imagine that I'm like in my heart looking up at my head, and my mind is just going like that is what stress is for me. It's like, ah. And anger, for example, would sound for me like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up, like that. And so I allow it to go to the extreme of just this like, almost like childish expression of what is going on inside. And I don't have to like make it up in my mind. It's usually there. It's actually every time there where it just comes out. It's just like, blah, blah, blah. And so then I can allow it to be like, oh, okay, wow. Okay, that's like, it's childish. That's okay. I'm going to allow it to be there. Like I want to sit with it. I'm not going to try to push this away because I know that what I resist is just going to persist, right? So allow myself to sit with it. Sometimes that's meditating. Sometimes that's speaking with my friends if they're there. If I'm by myself, it might be praying, literally just talking these out loud. Oh my God, wow, I feel so stressed. Dude, I don't know what to do. I don't like being stressed. I don't want to be stuck in my head. Woo, I just want to get some of this emotion out. Blah, 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 blah. And so you can see even right there, I was starting to go to this next step, which is to get out of my mind and into my body. So I might start like, if I'm stressed, I might start like, and you see people talk about stimming, right? Just like jumping up and down a little bit. I might do like fire activation. So I might like get in touch with the fire, on the surface level it would look like anger, but it's actually like life force that is inside of all of us, because basically every single person is been taught to push that down and direct that fire inward at themselves rather than outward at the illusions that we don't want to believe or the beliefs that we have that we don't want to believe. And so I might go, I might just like activate and start praying or start talking differently. And as soon as for me anyway, like going for a run is really helpful, but I don't always have time to do that. And so when I get out of my mind, I go into my body, I'm starting to understand this more. I'm seeing like the extreme. I'm starting to create a little bit of distance between me and what's going on here. And my mind is like, it wants something to focus on. And so if I can give it something to focus on with the body, even if it's like playing a little, puzzle, it helps me to just like relax and like get some distance between me and what I perceive as the problem. So I do my best to like give up on figuring out, be like, okay, I know that I always have what I need. So what I'm meant to know, I will always know it exactly when I need it to know it, no matter if I try to figure out or if I don't. And actually, I also know through experience that the more that I'm enjoying myself, the easier that things will come to me because I'm not trying so hard. I'm enjoying myself, and that is a more expanded state, which then is much easier for clarity to come through that. And so the overthinking stops because I'm now enjoying myself, so I don't need to overthink, because even if this girl doesn't like me, just say, I'm enjoying myself right now. And what else do we want in life except to enjoy ourselves? That's the whole point. Like, if life means nothing, if we live in infinity, everything exists, okay, what is the next step after nothing means anything? It's, well, then the point is to make the meaning of life whatever you want so that you enjoy it the most. So the point of life is to enjoy it. Okay, great. Well, let's see how I can enjoy life right now. Do I need to like draw something to get out of here? Do I need to like write it down? Do I want to just yell? Do I want to scream? Do I want to dance around? Any of these things. And so I do my best when I'm in this state to make decisions from knowing, not emotions. So for example, if I'm sitting here yesterday and I'm overthinking in my head, what do I text this girl? What do I text this girl? What do I text this girl? Okay, now I'm starting to go through this process. I'm realizing that all of this is coming from a place of emotion, or it's coming from something that's not actually true on the deeper level. I want to do my best to act from knowing. So I know that someone will like me for who I am, not for what I do. So it doesn't matter if I do anything, I will have, if I'm meant to meet this girl again, I will, no matter if I text her or not. So I might make a decision from knowing of like, yeah, I'm going to leave some space. I'm not going to send a message. I know that I don't want to be anxiously attached. I don't want to be dependent on someone else to prove that I'm okay, because I know that I'm okay myself. Even if I don't feel that, I know that I am, and I want to give myself the experience of that. Okay, so I'm just going to calm down. And not force myself to calm down, but like I'm going to take a step back from that problem, from my phone, from messaging this girl. I'm going to relax into what I know is true. So there's a couple of things that I always know to be true that are helpful for me to remember in these situations. And then I act on my deeper desires. So this is what it means to act from knowing, which is on the very deepest level. Every human has these same desires, which is to connect with other people, to love other people and to be loved by them, to express honestly that we have full permission to exist. We can feel like, oh, okay, it's actually not bad for me to be stressed. I'm able to share this. I'm able to allow myself to feel these things and to ask for what I want. So then, even though there's overthinking or there's these emotions, when I'm still acting from what I actually want deep down, which is much more important than a temporary feeling of, being validated by a girl or being liked by a girl, then I'm creating an experience of me being okay exactly as I am, even with XYZ emotion that I'm experiencing. And then I'm saying, oh, okay, now I'm starting to see more as these pieces come into place. And next time, as I go back into overthinking, then I go through this process again, and I say, oh, wait, okay, that's okay. And then I do this again, and then next time, maybe I don't overthink in this specific situation. I just know, oh yeah, I'm familiar with this. Okay, this gives me a little bit of anxiety. That's okay. What I know is that I actually want to connect with people, so I'm going to go talk to my friend and be like, dude, this is so funny, bro. Like, I keep being in my head about this, and I know that I don't want to be, but I don't really know how not to be. So, dude, I'm just going to, I don't know, dude, you want to go play basketball? Like, because I don't know, dude. Like, I want to leave some space and see what happens, and da-da-da-da. So you get the idea. And so to summarize this, The thing that has been most helpful for me is understanding that overthinking is actually happening for my benefit. It is trying to point me to something deeper that is not serving me. So rather than pushing it away or just trying to stop overthinking, I take it as a signal to go to the underlying emotion that is creating the thoughts, take that to the extreme, and then do my best to act from knowing of what I want deep down rather than what I want on the surface, which might be temporary relief, but what I want deeper down is a more expanded sense of freedom. Move, get out of my body or get out of my mind and get into my body if I need to, activate if I need to, dance if I need to, and then I'm creating an experience that I actually want now rather than trying to get to a place in the future.